You are listening to Armchair Healthcare, a podcast on pills, placebos, and policy.
All right, welcome to Armchair Healthcare. Sock it to me, Max.
Well, okay. So, some of the top news recently was that Scott Gottlieb is no longer going to be the FDA commissioner. I guess the question there were two big questions that people had. One was, why is he leaving? And B, who is going to be his replacement? Some people didn't seem to believe that it was actually family issues, but from what I heard, he was commuting from Westport, Connecticut to Washington, D.C. I'm assuming, spending the week down in D.C. and then just going home to see his family on weekends.
Yeah, he said he had 1 day worth of time with his kids, and his kids are still young, so...
Yeah, I mean, he's already been at it for 2 years. I mean, can you believe it? It's already been 2 years. But, that wears on you. And it really just takes a few too many times where the spouse is upset because they're alone with the kids all the time, and they get no support from you for you to kind of worry about the future of your marriage and then make some changes. And plus, it's not like he was making a lot of money doing this. He was making a government salary.
Yeah, I don't think people do this for the money necessarily. Generally, they're independently wealthy to begin with.
No, but he was just, you look at the positives and the negatives. It's not like he was making like $5 million a year doing this. And it's like, well, if I just do it for 2 more years, I don't have to work again. And then I can see the kids all I want. That wasn't like part of the equation. It's like, okay, I made a name for myself. I was a really good FDA commissioner. My future's set. I've probably got as much out of this as I can. I might as well spend some more time with my kids.
Well, I don't blame him, but he will be missed.
Not by the jewel industry.
You mean the e-cigs?
Yeah.
And the cigarette companies in general.
Do you think that had anything to do with it?
It could have had. People were thinking that that might have had something to do with it because that his was an unpopular position within the Trump administration to have increased regulation of the e-cigarettes. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, I don't really think the FDA should be, messing around with that for no reason, just kind of being like all hardcore, like, oh my God, some teens might be vaping. Well, yeah, they'll be smoking cigarettes or smoking joints. I mean, what do you think?
But I have to say that a lot of teens stopped smoking cigarettes. Like when I was growing up, no one smoked cigarettes at all. And I feel like the whole e-cig thing skipped my generation.
Well, that's the thing. Like they've pointed to all sorts of studies done that a lot of kids switched over from smoking to using the e-cigs, but actually more kids are using nicotine now in high school because of the Juuls and whatnot.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's definitely, you don't want kids addicted to drugs, even if the drugs are keeping them off of more harmful drugs. But it's a really tricky line because, I mean, e-cigs got me off of smoking. I'm just going to be honest about that.
Are you really off of smoking?
Yes, I'm
really?
off of smoking. I'm on e-cigs. So this is the truth.
When was the last time you had a cigarette?
Well, a while back. I just got back onto the e-cig because I started smoking again. You saw me start smoking, and so I was like, all right, I have to go get an e-cig, and I'll do this. And then I haven't had one since.
Okay.
So it works for that purpose. And yeah, but evidently in high schools, like the Juuls are everywhere. And I feel like they should be stricter not selling to kids. Like how it must be so easy for these kids to get them. I mean, I guess I smoked cigarettes in high school, so I got them somehow from like friends and stuff. But
well, I mean, dude, like if you're in college, it's probably actually easier for you to get illegal drugs than it is for you to get alcohol. Because alcohol, is regulated. You generally have to go to the stores. I mean, you still obviously can get it. I mean, let's not. But like, because the illegal stuff was kind of unregulated.
Yeah, but these kids are getting the Juuls from like bodegas and stuff.
In New York. The world is not New York. Otherwise,
they ordering them online or something?
They're like, hey, older brother, please get me some Juul. Okay. I mean, this is how hard it will be. Just like ask an older friend, ask your brother and no one will think like, oh my God, it's really bad. I can't give you a Juul. It's like, okay, fine. It's a vape, whatever. I mean, so anyway, I think that, whatever his position was, I didn't really like it either because I'm like, well, whatever. let's not get too nanny state-ish here. Otherwise, yeah, he was pretty good. Maybe he forced out because of the Juul thing? Probably not, but I'm sure it caused some tension within some parts of the administration.
And also he got a lot of stuff through. It was a very productive year, 2018.
Yeah,
least.
no, look, he got more. There were more generics through. He definitely kind of helped, grease the skids, on generic approval. So that was pretty good. There was, other things that he did that were pretty positive. But we'll see. We'll see who.
He talked a lot about the opiate epidemic, but I don't really know if there was any sort of definitive policy advancement.
Well, how could there be?
But he tweeted about it like every day.
Yes. So he was as good as any journalist. He didn't really do anything there. I mean, he used his soapbox effectively, and like I'm not ragging on him. I like him a lot. But I don't think he made that much of a difference there. In terms of like his replacement, I just remember kind of the other candidates from when he was first nominated. It was like Joe Gulfo from Electrical Optical Sciences, who, for those of you who remember, it was a melanoma diagnostic tool. It was a device which was basically looked like a zapper, and they would kind of take a little picture of your of your moles, and it would tell you if it's cancerous or not. It's not like the idea sounds fine. It's like, oh, okay, because doctors can be wrong. Like they're just eyeballing it most of the time. But the problem was that as a CEO, Joe Gulfo only would really tell you the sensitivity of the diagnostic. Like I remember he was always saying, like, we just have to show that we can detect whatever, like 95 of 96 melanomas or something like that. So he never told you what the specificity was, which is basically which if you know the specificity, the false positive rate. Well, the false positive rate is like 90%. So the specificity was really low. It was like 10 or 11%. So basically the way that they eliminated the false negatives was just to say that anything that looked even partially funny was a positive. And so, I mean, it was kind of a nothing device. It never really did anything. But it was sort of like there was a lot of misleading statements from this guy, but he was, I think, a big donor. And so, they were considering making him FDA commissioner. And then there was this other guy who was affiliated with Peter Thiel and Seasteading, who takes a very libertarian view of the FDA, which, of course, I have sympathies with. But, you don't want to just approve everything and let all the snake oil salesmen win in the end. So, anyway, he was another candidate. But I'm just hoping that since generally the healthcare people that they've nominated for key positions have actually been very good. So I do like the CMS administrator. I do like, of course, Alex Azar, the secretary for HHS. So I'm hoping that we get another quality person to be the permanent FDA commissioner, or at least until the next administration.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We might have just gotten lucky the first time around.
I don't know. I mean, Alex Azar is pretty good.
Yeah, he's good too, and it's especially
competent.
It's especially odd to have two appointees in the same branch of government that are both not flaming dumpster fires of incompetence.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of smart Republicans out there.
Not in this administration.
No, I actually think a lot of the people in this administration are fine. It's all focused on like Michael Cohen and all these other people, but I mean Mattis, he was a pretty good Secretary of Defense, and then of course he
invested in Theranos.
Well, we didn't exactly like him for his healthcare investments.
He was one of the first investors in Theranos.
A lot of people invested in Theranos.
Yeah, I mean Henry Kissinger, George Shultz. All of these people, I mean, they just weren't healthcare. It just shows you how easy it is to dupe very smart people into buying your, healthcare company. You could just tell a story, and they have no idea how to check if it's true or not. Like if you're a store making teddy bears, they know how to check to see if it's doing well. They go to it and see if it's busy or not, or they actually like touch the teddy bear or whatever, see if it's like good quality. With a drug, they're like, they don't know. You'll sell them a bill of goods. And so you get a lot of this. You'll get a lot of people who are normally very smart just making really bad decisions.
Well, I think that's why it attracts so many crooks.
Yeah.
This industry. And speaking of which, I just got to see the new HBO documentary, The Inventor, starring Elizabeth Holmes, at an advanced screening this past week.
And how was that?
It was a lot of fun. First off, it was a lot of fun to be invited to the HBO offices and to their private screening room to watch this.
Did you meet Cersei Lannister?
No, I did not meet Cersei Lannister herself, but I did meet Alex Gibney, who is the director. He's made a whole bunch of these HBO and other documentaries as well, but a lot of the ones that you see on HBO. And he was there, and he did a little speech about it. He was really nice. And the documentary itself was a lot of fun. Of course, it's all stuff that I know, but for everyone else, it was their first big exposure to Theranos and the story of it, and they're like, oh my God, that girl's crazy.
I can't get over her voice. When I hear her speaking, it's just like, how can that not be fake? I mean, they can't be.
It was
real.
evidently, some people said it was fake. They said when she got upset, she would speak in like a normal person's voice.
But how do you make that decision? Like, I'm going to speak in a really deep voice. So
like
people...
you did just now. Like you just decided to speak in a deep voice.
No,
and you
but
spoke in a deep voice.
Yeah, to mock it, but not like every day, like in the office, come in and like do something that's not my natural voice.
But I think I have a different speaking voice, like if I'm presenting something, than I do if I'm just like talking to you guys
very
at work.
slightly.
I definitely have
yeah.
a little bit of a different voice when I introduce Armchair Healthcare. Hey, welcome to Armchair Healthcare. It's a little bit different than my regular voice.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of an affectation. I'm just going to admit that.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm doing a little bit of K96 rock.
Yes.
Anyway, so as far as the documentary, it was good. It was fun to see everyone react to sort of the lunacy that is Elizabeth Holmes. I didn't realize just how many friends in high places that she had.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like way beyond General Mattis and evidently the Pentagon and State Department of the past 10 years, which is, she had not 10 years, past 50 years.
Oh yeah,
she had a lot of representation from those
I think she was
cabinets
friends
of government.
With Chelsea Clinton, which probably means she was also friends with Hillary Clinton.
She was
everywhere.
buddy with the Clintons. Every Clinton interacted with her and sort of propped her up. And just like everyone. She showed pictures of her with famous people, like famous actors, actresses, rappers. She was at the Obama White House a couple times. Another thing that I thought was interesting was a little bit of the backstory that Alex Gibney mentioned about the reason why they made this documentary. And I don't know if this is out there in the world, so that I might be breaking something here. I might be breaking something, but he told it. He said it. I can say it, right?
Fine, say it.
So evidently some executives at HBO were like really into Elizabeth Holmes too. And I don't know if they were investors or anything else like that, but they really, really, really liked the idea of her. And they were like batting around an idea of doing a documentary just on her, like a positive documentary, because she's a genius, right? And then the shit hit the fan and they kind of felt like idiots. Well, I just presume they felt like idiots. They decided to take a different tact.
Well, they have to, right?
And they were like, okay, so let's roast this lady over a fire. Let's tear this down. And then they contacted Alex Gibney, who does these sorts of like exposés on like crooks and criminals and stuff like that. He did one on like Scientology, and he was the producer and directed one episode of Dirty Money. So he's into this sort of thing.
Which one, the Valiant one?
No, he did he directed the what do you call it? The Volkswagen one.
Oh, okay. I didn't watch.
He's
that
the
one.
guy in the Volkswagen one.
Okay.
Right, if you've seen it. And yeah, so he also said that the only reason why they could have done this is because HBO supported them legally, and because there were so many legal hurdles thrown up by Theranos lawyers.
Oh yeah, like David Bowes.
Yeah. And these guys are evidently ruthless, and they've been trying to make this documentary ever since the shit hit the fan, but it just took HBO's legal muscle to be able to do it, which I guess is the same reason why they could go after Scientology, because they have the resources to stand up against these guys.
Yeah. No, I mean, if any of you have read Bad Blood, you know how vicious the Theranos legal team is. I mean, they're just pure evil.
Yes. They're like harassing people constantly and accusing them of stealing trade secrets when they were just talking to people about criminal misconduct.
Yeah, I mean, the reason there weren't more whistleblowers, it was just they scared the crap out of all of their ex-employees to make sure that they, like, basically they would never work again if they broke non-disclosure.
But one girl did. One, like, 23-year-old lab assistant decided to break her silence and send an email to CMS, which is what got Theranos shut down. She made them stop actually running tests.
And also George Schultz's grandson.
Yes.
Who stood up to his grandfather even and said, like, no, she's a complete another crook.
Yes, but this girl was the actual whistleblower that got them re-inspected and whatnot. And that's a part of the story I didn't really fully appreciate. But George Schultz's grandson does play a prominent role in the movie.
Yeah, because he's the one who spoke with John Kerry, I believe.
Evidently, he had spent $400,000 in legal fees to try and protect himself from these guys. And just disappeared, like nothing ever happened. He just needed lawyers all the time because they were constantly threatening him, which speaks to some sort of systemic issues of how we deal with these legal issues in this country.
Well, yeah, I mean, so in this country, there's actually no way to get someone to stop suing you. Like, there's just, you're not, unless they're completely doing ludicrous, frivolous lawsuits like, oh, you know, you looked at me funny, so I'm suing you. Like, can't do that. But, like, if there's even like a modicum of reality in the lawsuit or the motion or whatever, they can just keep going and going forever. And the problem is, you know, the only person who can stop it is the judge. And guess what? He's also a trial lawyer or a former trial lawyer. So he's going to look out for his buddies, the other trial lawyers. And so there's nothing you can do to stop it ever, which is a major problem.
So there you go.
Law
Max
101.
found a way to make this about tort reform.
Yeah,
I sort of stepped in that one, didn't I?
Well, no, I mean, not necessarily tort reform. It's just like you gotta make it so you can just stop things. Like, for example, if you have, you know, let's say a divorce between someone who's very rich and someone who's very poor, the guy with all the money can just, or the girl with all the money can just have the lawyers go on forever. Or if like their parents are family lawyers, they can just go on forever, and the other person like goes bankrupt and has to give up. So, I mean, this is kind of where it is. It's like you just can't stop people from doing this because the system wants them to continue suing, and we love suing. I mean, today, and we're going to get into this a little more in a minute. So there's a couple of Stanford University students who are suing because they don't feel like they got a fair shot to get into USC and Yale because of this college bribery admission scandal.
What?
Yes.
I didn't hear that.
Yes, this was, I think, on Bloomberg. So these two students from Stanford, one of the top universities in the country, which has like one of the lowest acceptance rates of probably any in the country, and they're suing because they didn't get into USC. I mean, USC is a good school, but Stanford, I mean, dude, that's where Elizabeth Holmes went.
Well, maybe this speaks to the point. Maybe they really wanted to go to USC for whatever USC is good at, which I don't know.
Well,
and
film.
Isn't that UCLA?
No, USC. USC, that's where
George Lucas,
Steven Spielberg, I think.
They were like roommates or some shit. Yeah.
So,
anyway.
but anyway, it's just, why would you sue over this? You're already at Stanford, but like, you know, we're in a place where, hey, if you have money and you have lawyers, well, you know, here you go. Continue to sue. So anyway, and so I think that's a good segue to our other topic, which has been surprisingly virulent on Twitter and on news shows, which is the college admission bribery scandal, where parents have, you know, I mean, look, historically, I mean, everyone's known there's some bribery involved in the system. The Simpsons had a great episode on this, like about 10, 15 years ago, where Monty Burns had Rodney Dangerfield as a son, and he was trying to get him into Yale. So then, you know, the Yale admissions people were like, well, you know, we have a sliding scale on donations and like based on like SAT scores. So if they score X, you know, you have to donate, you know, a chair. If if they score Y, then you have to buy a building. So based on your son's scores, we need an international airport. So, I mean, you know, it's kind of been known, but what these parents did was, I mean, they hired proctors to correct their kids' like SATs or ACTs. they paid off coaches to pretend like they were recruiting their child to be on, like, let's say, a soccer team or water polo team. What, even if the kid has never played soccer or water polo in their lives. Like, I believe in one case they actually photoshopped the photograph of the child onto like a water polo player
And a pole vaulter.
Yeah, and a pole vaulter. And like, I mean, some of these cases, like the schools literally did not even have a water polo team. Yeah,
I feel like that should have gotten caught.
Well, in one case, I believe a guidance counselor did question, why is USC recruiting Bob Smith to be on this football team? We don't have a football team. So it has set up some red flags, but I don't think at the universities. And a lot of these guys, I guess, did this regularly. Like, one of the ways the feds got informed was because someone they were investigating for SEC issues said, "Hey, well, if I tell you about something else, can you grant me some leniency?" And he told them how he was shaken down by the Yale female soccer coach or girls soccer coach for money to help his child get into Yale. So, and that like started this whole investigation, and I believe it's like 33 parents are now under arrest
including
for
Aunt Becky from Full House. It's devastating.
Including Aunt Becky from Full House. Like, she always seemed really nice.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just she's really aggressive. And her daughter, though, does not seem very nice. She actually seems not like a good person at all.
There's a startling amount of video material of her on the internet saying that she doesn't push her daughter very hard. And that, her daughter can be whatever she wants to be. And we don't force her to, like, just get straight A's. And we just believe in her. There's like a number of different videos of her saying this sort of stuff. And it's not a good look. It's really not a good look.
Yeah. And well, there's also the video of, the child the daughter saying, like, I don't really care about college. I'm just going there for the football games and the partying. And also,
I believe one of them, it might have been her, is like an Instagram influencer,
it's
and
her.
Immediately started monetizing it as soon as she got to school.
Yeah, she was like promoting like Amazon. Amazon has some sort of college unit, and so she was like promoting that on her Instagram. And then apparently, she was on one of the board of trustees' yacht when the news broke out.
Yeah, I just saw this today. I don't know the backstory to that, but I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was a billionaire whose daughter, I guess, was friends with this other girl, and so she was just partying on the yacht.
Shouldn't that be enough to cheat your way into school? Why do you have to pay millions of dollars? Just be like good friends with one of the boards of trustees. That should be enough.
Well, it usually wasn't millions of dollars. So the guy who was running all of this college consultant, he made $25 million from all of these payments, but it's from dozens of people. So I think they were usually spending like hundreds of thousands, to go to USC or some of it was Yale, and then surprisingly there was like University of San Diego, which is a fine school, but it has like a 50% acceptance rate, so you could probably just apply to a few of them and get in. And then, like Northeastern and stuff like that. So you're just, why are you bribing? So anyway, these people all committed felonies, and I hope they all go to jail, because to me, this is a more serious crime than insider trading. And they love throwing the book at insider traders. I know Wall Street traders are not considered very, sympathetic. But in the end, insider trading, there's no actual victim. Here there was a victim. There was someone who lost their spot.
There's some very dilute victims in insider trading.
Yeah, like no one actually notices they're a victim. Here,
so
it's like
1 penny from a million people, or a billion people.
Yeah,
that's
so
real money.
So it's like Superman 3 kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's more like, someone who deserved to get in didn't get in because some very rich person bribed their way in.
So do you think the kids knew about it? Like the extent that their parents were going through to do it? Like they took the SAT or the ACT, they sat down for it. Do you think they knew that their scores were altered, for example?
Well, I think the one who had like the proctor go through their exam and correct it probably knew. I don't think 100% of the kids knew, but I think they probably knew some of the stuff, and they probably didn't even bat an eye, because That's probably been their whole life. Like,
Right.
you know, there's a thing called lawnmower parents. Lawnmower parents, unlike helicopter parents who hover and, you know, kind of look over your shoulder and see what you're doing and like micromanage you basically, lawnmower parents get rid of every single obstacle in your path. And that's what their probably entire lives were like. Oh, I'm having problems with this grade and this teacher. Oh, my mom will talk to them and argue for a better grade. Like that's probably been their life. So they probably didn't think anything of it. Probably the parents didn't think so either. It's like, well, this is what everyone does. Everyone I know has a college consultant.
Yeah. So do you think the kids should be expelled?
100%. They got there through malfeasance. They deserve to be expelled. There has to be some
whether they
punishment
knew
for
or
it.
not, because
Yeah, it doesn't
Right.
matter if
they
they
could
knew.
be a victim of this as well if they didn't know, but then the breaks. You know what I mean?
Well,
if somebody gives me like $1 million and then the feds come and say, oh yeah, that was stolen money, you got to give it back. I don't get to keep the $1 million because I didn't know where it came from.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they
Good point.
basically got they're receivers of stolen goods or stolen services in this case. So they need to give it back. And look, it's not like their lives are going to be over. They're still from rich families. They'll still just transfer to another school, probably of equal or slightly lesser stature, and they'll still be fine. I mean, they'll still be going on yachts and going to vacations in like Ibiza and like or wherever is like or to the next fire festival, and that will be their thing.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I mean,
Well, we always love issues of higher education here on Armchair Healthcare, and this is a fun topic to talk about because you can be mad at everyone. It unites us in terms of who we can be mad against.
yes, the rich and the spoiled who think they can do whatever they want just because they have money.
Yes. I say we eat them.
No, that resorts to cannibalism.
I
Cannibalism
say we
is wrong.
I say we eat the rich.
That was actually a P.G. O'Rourke book, Eat the Rich. I highly recommend anyone to read P.G. O'Rourke. He is extremely funny.
Anyway, what else is going on in the world of healthcare, Max?
Healthcare?
No more healthcare topics?
Well, no, we do. I just came across this like right before we went to record this. Someone had a blog post. It's on ketamine or the esketamine approval.
Mhm.
So it's Slate Star Codex is the blog, and he had some choice things to say about it all. So he appears to be a psychiatrist who prescribes stuff like ketamine, and he's saying he is not going to recommend that they take esketamine.
Why is that?
Well, one reason is he says there's actually evidence that they got the wrong isomer.
What?
Yeah, so he has a link to that. I didn't get a chance to double check that, but he says, originally they thought it worked through the NMDA receptors and through, it was stronger on one isomer, but now they're saying it actually might have a different mechanism, and that the other isomer might actually be better. Also, he's saying like it's just sort of no one is going to go through all the hoops to actually be able to give this. I mean, the FDA is requiring, I believe, like 2 hours of observation. Like what clinic is going to be able to do that? He's saying his clinic definitely won't be able to. So they're going to have to pay like brand name prices. Reimbursement's going to be a little fuzzy, and he doesn't feel like what does he say? So I want to finally be able to prescribe ketamine to my patients who need it. Instead, I'm going to have to recommend they find a ketamine clinic near them. Some of my patients live hours from civilization, drive to it several times a week, and pay through their nose. Also, that some guy with a postgraduate degree in watching people dissociate can do crossword puzzles while they sit and feel kind of weird in a waiting room. And then those same patients will go home and use ecstasy. Thanks a lot, FDA.
Wow.
So he's basically saying, like, it's okay if they go home. It's like, are they so bad off that they can't be slightly dissociated at home? I mean,
you can't drive.
No, you can't drive. But
That's for sure.
No.
I feel like that's a real... I don't know much about ketamine, but I feel like that I know.
No, but like if you're doing intranasal, they could just take it at home. They don't have to take it in the doctor's office and then drive. They could also just take it home.
Well, dissociation causes all sorts of weird stuff.
I don't know.
Right?
I mean, it's just...
Like, that's some of the stuff, like... I mean, ketamine has a sedating effect, of course, which keeps you from going too crazy. But other dissociatives, like PCP, those are the people climbing on top of fast food restaurants and getting naked and yelling about the reptilians.
You can't compare PCP with ketamine. I mean,
Well,
PCP
I just
is like,
did.
but they're not actually comparable. They're like apples. I mean, PCP is just like crazy person drug. Like that. It's just completely nuts and off the wall. I mean, ketamine. It's used as a anesthetic. I don't think I haven't heard that many horror stories.
It makes you dissociate from your body so much you can't feel anything when they cut into you.
Yeah,
that's what it does.
So my guess is people are going to be lying in bed listening to music after they take it. I don't think they're going to be like doing anything crazy. As you said, it is sedating. So, I mean, I've never heard anyone really have a bad reaction from it. Like, I've never done it. I've never done it at all. But like I know other people have, and I don't know. It wasn't like
the effects of dissociatives are really strange, though. Like forgetting, like where you are and who you are and how you fit into society and that you're human and stuff like that, which maybe is what it takes to help with depression. Is you gotta just hit the reset button. Boop.
Yeah, so I guess it destroys your ego, kind of like the psychedelics.
It destroys your ego completely.
Yeah, and this psychiatrist actually does talk about psilocybin. And the cherry on the crap sundae is that this sets a precedent. If the FDA approves psilocybin for depression, you can bet you're going to have to go to a special psilocybin clinic if you want to get it. Psychedelic medicine is potentially the future of psychiatry, and there's every indication that it will be as inconvenient and red tape filled a future as possible. If you thought it was tough getting your Adderall prescription refilled every month, just wait. And that's true. They're going to just make it so it's really hard to take any of these things, which probably actually work and can work for like long periods of time. They're going to be stuck with doing SSRIs with all the horrible side effects and limited efficacy.
Well, these are drugs of abuse, which makes them very, very scary.
They're not really abusable. They're not like psilocybin is not. I don't think it's not like you. If you've done it, I don't think you feel like you want to do it again. A drug of abuse is more like cocaine, where like it wears off, and then you want to do some more, and then you want to do some more. There have been loads of comedy skits related to that.
I would say
heroin probably too. Like I think with mushrooms,
heroin is highly a reinforcing drug. I would say mushrooms have a degree of karmic balance in them, in that if you take too many, you really don't enjoy it.
And I haven't heard of too many people wanting to do it like the next day. It's like you're sort of like fine, and then you don't want to do it. I know that's just kind of my sense. So I mean, I don't think it's necessarily. And I remember there were scales on this. Like they did test it for abusability, and psilocybin is not a very abusable substance.
Yeah, there's all sorts of studies with like mice and stuff about the addictability of drugs and how much they self-administer and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like they press the button if they really like it, and I don't think they do that for psilocybin.
Yeah, they don't do that for psilocybin or for acid or anything.
Yeah, which means they're not really. I think people confuse the word use and abuse. So yeah, if you're using a illegal drug, is it automatically abuse, or are you possibly using it properly?
Don't do drugs.
Yes, don't do
Thank
drugs.
you, Brianna.
No
Thank you,
problem.
Brianna.
Well,
keep us on the straight and narrow.
But wait. Okay, but we are a healthcare show.
Yes.
And so we actually do talk about a lot of drugs that do help people. So
yes.
Whether a government agency has decided to approve something does not necessarily mean that it is intrinsically better or worse. It just means the bureaucrats have liked something, and there might be lobbying behind it, or like there might be some stigma associated with something. Like, for example, the FDA has approved synthetic heroin for how many years now, ruining people's lives, but are they doing anything about it? Not really. They might be talking about it, but they approved all of these. So are you going to tell me that like psilocybin or LSD or marijuana is worse than like a Dilaudid or OxyContin?
That's the stuff that hippies took.
What?
Psilocybin and pot and all that sort of stuff.
It's all about
it's all hippies drugs, which means bad drugs.
Yeah.
Whereas all these opiates, that's what hardworking Americans take after a long day in the coal mines.
I thought people just don't they just go home and have beer?
Yes, that's also why beer is legal, Max. You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, but beer is relatively soft. In Russia, they consider it a soft drink. Anyway, but no, but that's kind of my point. Like, yeah, okay, you don't want to do something illegal because you get in trouble, but it doesn't mean that it wouldn't be helpful. Like, I think psilocybin, LSD when taken in the care of a professional. And I think that one should probably be done if you're doing it for antidepressive reasons. You probably do want to do it in the presence of someone else, to make sure that like you're okay and you're not thinking, because people can freak out and bad things could happen. But I think that could be very helpful, whether it's actually approved or not.
Very well said, Max. We should all do more drugs. All right. Okay. Is there anything else from the world of biotech, etc.?
Well, okay. There's one last thing because before I have to go. So there was someone sent around on the infamous Twitterverse this paper about the mechanisms of penile fracture in Western Iran.
So why should we care about the mechanisms of penile fracture in Western Iran?
Because it's funny as crap. That's why. It's hilarious. So the number one mechanism, which is associated with 69% of the cases of penile fracture, was Tagandan, which is to click or snap the erect penis to achieve, I'm assuming to make it not so erect.
Well, yeah, if you're living in a strict Muslim culture, that could be...
But that's a hard slapping.
I don't think it's a hard slap. It's more of like cracking your knuckles.
Yeah,
you like crack your knuckles and you just sort of like, you just push it in a certain angle and then...
But how hard are you pushing it? I mean...
Pop. Click.
I mean, is that a dislocation?
That's what it means in Kurdish. It means click.
Yeah. That just doesn't sound right. And then,
if you have to, and if you do it too much, maybe it's the same as your knuckles. It can lead to downstream effects.
I guess so. But so there were these other.
What are the other causes of penile fracture
some very
in Western
ones.
Iran?
So one was, of course, donkey bite.
There was one donkey bite
that
led to a penile fracture.
Yeah, I don't know why you do that around a donkey. Anyway, it just.
I've got one idea.
But actually, it kind of reminds me of the Monty Python and the Holy Grail opening credits, where the subtitles would say like, a moose once bit my sister. Mind you, moose bites can be pretty nasty. So this is like donkey bit, whatever. And then another one was inadvertently striking the erect penis during a bath. How did that happen?
Splashy, 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 splashy. Oh!
And of course, there's brick fell on, whatever. And then the one that is the most unique, I would say, is inadvertently striking the penis with an adze while cutting loaf sugar into lumps.
Mm-hmm. This makes a lot of sense. If you ever swung an adze to separate rock sugar from a loaf, you swing it in such a way that it's...
Have you ever done this?
I'm making a hatchet motion in the air right now. And if you miss, and a sugar loaf, you could hit, it's like cutting an onion. If you don't get it at the right angle, it's just going to slide down the side.
But wouldn't there be like a table
and then
there?
Whoops.
Wait, have you actually cut a sugar loaf with an adze?
Have you not? How do you get the sugar out of your loaves?
First of all, I don't know. I don't eat sugar anymore. But
what's an adze?
It's like a
why isn't it a knife?
It's like a scythe kind of thing.
No.
It's sort of like a.
It's like an axe.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's like an
axe. I've seen
axe.
pictures. It's not like an axe.
It's like an axe. Mostly.
No. It's like a stick that has like a little blade thing on the very top, but it's not like
a stick with a blade thing on the top.
No,
what's something else that describes that axe?
No. But an axe is more blunt. This one was more like long and thin, so it was more like a scythe that you use to cut wheat, just like a smaller version.
I can't even find what it looks like on Google.
Well, yeah, no, it's if you go to the Wikipedia, it's just ADZE.
Oh, that's why I was spelling it wrong.
She's our fact checker. Let's see how she would describe it.
Now, what type of implement does that look like, Brianna?
This actually looks like a combination between a hammer and an axe.
Thank you. It's very axe-like. It's an axe.
But it's in the shape of a hammer. But instead of having a blunt edge of the hammer, it's sharp.
Yeah, it's long and thin like a scythe. Look up a scythe.
No, it's not long and thin.
SCYTHE, scythe. It's like a mini scythe.
Is this from Fortnite?
It's really not.
No, it's from history. And death would have a scythe. Not that I've seen death, but
I have to go with my original
Fine.
description. It's a hammer and an axe
fine. She's our
combination.
fact checker. She wins. Okay. And anyway, so then there was, of course, being struck by a football during soccer. Yada yada yada. Falling from wall or mountain on erect penis. That was 4 cases.
Oh,
Just try not to, make that mountain climbing so good.
oh God.
Well, anyway, I know it was childish, but it was fun talking about because, this is just ridiculous. Well, we could also talk about the Bristol Myers Celgene kerfuffle.
Well, we could.
Yeah, so, but briefly, well, do you want to talk about that or the fact that there's clinics out there promoting infusions of 15 grams or higher vitamin C?
Let's talk about both.
Well, we don't have time for both because I have to go.
Well, Bristol Myers Celgene is just like
Okay, so
Celgene is Celgene, and they've been like skirting what do you call it? The law selling drugs forever, but
the patent, the patent.
skirting their patents for forever, and Revlimid's going off patent. So, are they gonna go generic? Well, thalidomide has been generic for like a century now, and they're still the only ones that sell that.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's an interesting topic for pharma nerds, and I guess this is kind of a pharma nerd podcast, but I vote for 15 grams of vitamin C.
Okay, great. So so there's clinics out there that are saying that if you take 15 grams or higher of vitamin C, it can help. I mean, some people are saying treat cancer. Other people are saying it's a great antibiotic. But I think they're missing the point, which is that I think none of that actually gets absorbed, or a very, very, very small percentage of that gets absorbed. It probably doesn't do anything. I mean,
that's not the point. It takes the toxins. I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to say. Like something toxins.
Something toxins. Yes, it sounds good because, vitamin C is good. We've been taught that forever. And it's probably true, at a certain dose. But it's, a certain point, in the dose response curve, it doesn't get any better. So you can give 15 grams or 100 grams. It's probably going to be the same effect as 1 gram.
This is a long-standing pseudoscience thing. And this has been around forever. That the drug companies don't want you to know that vitamin C cures cancer because then they would never make any money curing cancer. Because all it takes is half a pound of vitamin C. Can we talk? How do they get it into your body? Do you eat
IV.
it?
No, IV. IV infusion of vitamin C. So
like a ridiculously, it's very soluble, so it probably doesn't take too much liquid. But still, I bet it burns. It is an acid.
I mean, half an
that's a
ounce of
side
vitamin
effect.
C sounds like a lot. I mean, think about how big of a vitamin C 1 gram pill is. I mean, 15 grams. I mean, that's like a pool ball.
Vitamin C is also literally in everything that you eat. Like, it's one of the few vitamins that is. Everyone focuses on oranges. Oranges have a modest amount of vitamin C. Potatoes have more than oranges. And meat has vitamin C in it. Literally everything that you possibly can eat has vitamin C in it, except for maybe white rice.
Kale also has a good amount of vitamin C in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, eat more kale.
Eat more kale. Kale has other vitamins in it. Like vitamin C, you really have to be eating just refined grains, and then you'll get scurvy. That's the only way to get scurvy. Is just eat hardtack on a pirate ship, or just eat white rice.
Yes,
and
scurvy
nothing else.
pirates. I mean, that's why there's so few people who actually get scurvy, because it's really hard to get. You have to be stuck on a wooden ship in 1600.
We've already covered scurvy on the show.
Yes, we have.
Yes, this is one of our favorite topics.
We love scurvy. I mean, just the word scurvy.
And but I bet you this whole scam is something.
Anti-vaxxer.
Cancer is caused by metals and toxins, and it binds the metals and toxins and takes them out of your body.
Oh, probably. And also it's the same people who, question 30,000 person clinical trials for vaccines are like, oh, there's a report of one guy in Kentucky, having his infection cured by 15 grams of vitamin C. I'll believe it.
Yeah, the question is, who stands to gain from these 30,000 person clinical trials?
The Jews. It's always the Jews.
Always the Jews.
Yes, those evil Jews trying to cure disease. and make sure they stay cured and they don't come back.
I believe that's a pretty prominent conspiracy in the Middle East, isn't it? That the Jews are trying to sterilize everyone.
There's a lot of Middle Eastern conspiracies related to Jews.
I would imagine.
Like I believe what do we do, Brianna? We drink the blood of Christian children on Passover or something. I think there's also, of course, just look up shark Mossad spy, hawk Mossad spy, and dolphin Mossad spy. You'll see that animals have been arrested in Middle Eastern countries because they've been accused of being Mossad spies.
I have never heard of any of this.
Okay.
Oh no, it's totally true. It's usually Egypt.
All right, so let's kill it with the conspiracy theories. I'm gonna tell you guys some true stuff, like that they've done before with spies and animals.
What?
Did you know that they have done all sorts of different efforts to use like electric, what do you call it? Like put bugs on animals and then basically train them to do one thing or another so they can like sneak a bug in on like a cat. There's been like lots and lots of research into this. The CIA actually tried to learn how to control a cat because the first thing they did was they're like, okay, we need to get this bug into the Russian embassy. Let's put it on a cat. They put the bug on the cat and the cat just wandered off. Right? They realized this was not a great plan. So they invented increasingly complex methods of trying to control the cat, like by training it and giving it like little shocks. They just were completely ineffective because if you can imagine, if anyone's ever owned a cat, like you electrocute a cat to try and train it to do something, it will just like flip out and like not do what you want. And they invested like millions of dollars in trying to make this work. Also, there's a long history of dolphins being used in various capacities or being examined for various capacities by the Navy for like having them swim and guide torpedoes and whatnot.
So are you saying that maybe that dolphin was a Mossad spy?
I said we're going to drop all the conspiracy theories first and then talk about the fact that there have been at least one instance of cat spies and at least a few instances of dolphins working for the Navy.
Okay. That sounds good. Well,
and lots of instances of dogs.
Well, of course.
Working for the government.
Well, yeah. I mean, we used to have movies about it.
All right. I guess that's it for this week. Don't listen to our advice, medical or investment or otherwise.
And don't do drugs.
Okay. And we'll all see you next week. Like and subscribe.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.
Our theme music is by Hazar.